just were being tried. State your piece tonight. Stand up for. State your piece tonight. We're not gonna take it. Hell, we ain't gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore.
Progressives who have summer teeth, some are yellow, some are missing, and gentlemen, Hussein Obama has asserted on numerous occasions that the U.S.'s hydrocarbon boom was his doing. The reason these United States has massively increased its crude oil and natural gas production was because of him. Numerous progressives have autistically regurgitated this talking point on YouTube and elsewhere, filling up their gobs of free time by perpetuating lies and half-truths. However, this is not the truth. First, let's quickly look at how the federal government is slow-walking permits. It was even insinuated by the Hussein administration that the government shutdown will cause the permit process that they already hamstringed to be hamstrung even further. The White House Office of Management and Budget even released a report wringing its hands over how the permit process is going to be delayed. However, this was BS, and the only people who fell for this line were those who never bothered to fact-check anything anyway. A lot like the hippie from California, Old Brown Teeth, who copies off Think Progress and Media Matters. Over the past 5 years, the Bureau of Land Management has issued only 27,400 permits, which sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. The BLM has only issued 27,400 permits to drill compared to Texas, that will award more than 23,000 in 2013 alone. This story was from last year, of course, on a per-year basis. That means that the federal government is awarding less than 1/4 of the number of permits that the state of Texas alone is awarding. Other states have also taken to embracing the energy industry. While the BLM approved 4,256 drilling permits in 2012, Kansas, Pennsylvania, and the nut jobs in California approved 6,861, 4,627, and 3,586, respectively. Apparently, the Hussein administration is too extreme, even for California, which that's saying something. If Hussein and Senator Markey were serious, and they're not, about oil and natural gas development on federal lands, they would look to states like Texas. The Texas oil and gas regulators have reduced permitting times to 5 days per well and are shooting for 3 days. That compares to 228 days for the BLM. Which means if you're going to wait that long, you're probably not going to go out of your way. While waiting 16 extra days for a drilling permit may have been inconvenient, the original 228-day wait is much more concerning. In other words, that talking point was BS. Even Kansas, which is not known for being oil country, was issuing far more permits to drill on state and private land. How many progressives fell for the Hussein administration's stretching of the truth? The House Committee on Natural Resources back in 2013 revealed that the time it takes to obtain a permit for oil and gas exploration on state lands is about 12 to 15 days, a short time compared with the average 307 days to obtain a permit for onshore drilling on federal land. So much for that. Now moving on to our main event. There was a massive increase in crude oil and natural gas production in these United States during Hussein's first term and early in his second term, but he didn't build that. The private sector did. For example, that crude oil production and natural gas production on federal lands has drastically declined over the past 4 fiscal years, can't be denied. Those massive increases, mostly attributed to North Dakota and Texas, have occurred on private and state-owned land. This is more than enough to offset the major declines on federal land. Did you hear that, troglodytes? Federal land production declined. It increased markedly on state and private land. The Congressional Research Service found, quote, oil production has fluctuated wildly between fiscal year 2007 and fiscal year 2012, yielding different results when comparing various years. For example, when comparing fiscal year 2010 with 2007, growth in the federal share of production was about 82% of the total. On federal lands, there was an increase in production from fiscal year 2008 to fiscal year 2009, and another increase in fiscal year 2010, but then declines in fiscal year 2011 and fiscal year 2012, which brought production below fiscal year 2007 production levels. Natural gas production in the United States overall has increased each year since 2007, while production on federal lands has remained static or declined each year over the same period. Much of the decline can be attributed to offshore production falling by over 50%. Onshore production declines were less dramatic. Federal natural gas production has fluctuated from around 30% of total U.S. production for much of the 1980s through the early 2000s, 34% of U.S. total in 2003, after which there began a steady decline through 2012. This picture of natural gas production is much different than that of federal crude oil, in that federal natural gas has accounted for a much larger portion of total U.S. natural gas over the past few decades. The figures themselves tell the story. The massive hydrocarbon increase, especially in the area of natural gas exploration, can be attributed to exploration on state and private land, not federal land. So, Hussein, you lied. You didn't build that, little man. Since fiscal year 2008, when exploration on federal land produced 19,128 trillion BTUs of energy, every year, every single year except fiscal year 2010, there has been a decline. In fiscal year 2012, it fell to 17,129 trillion BTUs. Again, there hasn't been a massive increase on exploration on federal land. Anyone saying otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about. Isolating federal offshore drilling in pads 5 and 3 have seen similar declines as well. Again, looking at the data. All you have to do is look at the data. Don't take a kook blog's word for it, ladies. We'll wrap this up with some quick figures concerning crude oil and natural gas production in Texas and crude oil production in North Dakota, which has been an absolute boom to their economy. I urge every Democrat in North Dakota, if you want to have any chance of getting elected, you had better embrace energy exploration, or don't bother even wasting their time running for office. I'll hazard a guess that Hussein is upset that Washington doesn't own as much of those states as they own in the West, or he'd realize his dream of higher electricity and gas prices for the middle class. He loves the middle class. That's why he wants your electric bills to double. He loves you guys. He cares about you. U.S. field production of crude oil has increased by over 48% since 2008 alone. Government didn't build that. U.S. natural gas production has also increased by 17.7% since 2008 as well. A veritable boom. I guess the Club of Rome, the Carter administration, Kenneth Watt, Paul Ehrlich, M.K. Hubbard, and the goofiest looking man that ever lived, God rest his soul, Matt Simmons, are feeling pretty stupid right now. But you don't have to understand the pricing mechanism. You don't have to understand basic economics to be in that club. Just subscribe to frothing at the mouth, apocalyptic, we're all going to die, doom-saying. Texas's natural gas production has increased by 46% since 2004. Texas crude oil production has more than doubled since 2010 alone. In North Dakota, their field production of crude oil has increased more than tenfold since 2004. Those two states, again, account for most of our hydrocarbon boom, and most of those increases are on state or private land, not federal land. In conclusion, Hussein Obama seems maybe a little senile, perhaps stupid, perhaps just a bad liar. Maybe next time he'll take some advice from Bill Clinton and learn to pick his lies a little better. Have a nice day, and don't thank me now for the information.